Hello and welcome to the rare afternoon stream. I call this a mega stream. My intention is to do a 2 hour jam here. We'll see how that works. Let me know if my levels are all right. I'm in the country, and there's usually that little bit of recalibration I need to do as I'm in a different setting and make sure my levels all my levels are all right. So let me know if anything's lagging. If you haven't noticed, check out my new frames fresh out of the Warby Parker box this morning. Had a fun time getting that done. I mean, it wasn't the most hardest part about that isn't anything to do with the glasses part. It's really that picking out which frames you want. They have like 1,000 different frames that are all very similar to each other. So, these are a little bit more rounded, these are a little bit more square. Finally picked these out. I feel like they're pretty plain Jane as far as glasses go, but they do the job. These are just reading glasses. My eyesight's still pretty 2020. Hey Terrence, thanks for joining. Pretty 2020, but at the same time, with the I needed just a touch for reading, and I was gonna get one of those progressives, but they were kind of really expensive, and I didn't feel like I needed them because I only needed the reading part, kind of the close. So, I was like, oh, I can get the progressive, the kind of the reading, and then they were going to give me one slightly less, really slight change for monitor distance, and then nothing for further away. But it was going to be an extra $200, and I just said, you know what, I could use don't need the glasses so much as I could use not spending $200 on them. I will probably get them down the line, maybe when something comes up. Hey, Elfbait. Elfie says, I'm just at the point where my bifocals need to become just focals. I'm sure I will get there sooner or later. Not there yet, but I didn't need the progressive, so I just went with the plain reading glasses. The other saga I went through was I had my first colonoscopy yesterday, which was just a barrel of laughs. Actually, the most painful thing with that is the whole setup. If you're not familiar with it, I'm over 40. I'm getting closer to 50 at this point. But I hadn't had one done before, so I need to have one done just for regulars. There was no issues I need to address, but had to get that done. And you have to end up drinking this massive jug of disgusting liquid. Well, first of all, you have to change your diet for the days leading up to it. And I actually did a poor job of that. I mixed up the dates and other things. I just forgot I had to do this stuff. Then you're supposed to basically you're flushing your system out, and then the last day after you've done all this dietary stuff, which I kind of half-assed on a bit, but then you have to bathe this giant jug of disgusting liquid over about not even a 12-hour period, over about 6 hours, and it sounds almost like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's 4 liters, I think, but the liquid is disgusting. It's I don't know if it was better because you could do it flavorless, or I don't know, quote unquote flavorless, or you can opt for the lemon flavoring. And I put the lemon flavoring in. It didn't help. It might have made it worse. It's rotten. And I think the things about it, it's like, it's bad. This isn't like, oh, it's some kind of lemon. Oh, it's such lemon flavor. It's like I'm squeezing raw lemons into my mouth. Okay, which would be too sour anyway. But it's not even like it's good lemon flavor. It's pretty disgusting. And the liquid, I don't even know what to say about it. It's viscous. It 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 you it's not like a molasses, but it just has it feels different. In coffee they talk about mouth feel and things. It has a really disgusting, just viscous mouth feel, and you have to drink so much of it, and then you're just in the bathroom all night. And because my appointment was first thing in the morning, you end up having to drink half the jug at 5 p.m. Then you got to drink the next half of the jug at 11 p.m., which means that it started working on me about an hour and a half afterwards, maybe 2 hours. I think it was around 7 p.m. where suddenly I'm shuttling off to the bathroom every 10 minutes. And it's water, it's like you're peeing out of both ends. I don't have really a polite way of saying it. It's just water falling, and hey, it's just coming. And then for me, because my appointment was first thing in the morning, that second half of the jug, which I couldn't even get down because I started to get sick, about 3/4 into that second half of the jug, my body just said, you know what, dude, enough, and it started to revolt. I felt my body revolting against me, and so I had to stop. But even then, all night, I maybe got an hour at a chunk sleep at best, because you got to keep going and through the morning going. Uh, then you get to the hospital, and of course, there's all the annoying, the the nurses, I feel, the ladies at the desk. I found the nurses and the anesthesiologist and the doctor, they were fine. But the nurses where you go to check in, or the staff, I just find them unfriendly. And this was no different. They're just kind of unfriendly. You're a nothing part of their day, even though for you it's a very stressful important part of your life. I've been lucky enough that I've never had to go completely under anesthetics before. This is the first time for me. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? It's a little bit scary. I mean, look, every once in a blue moon, something does go horribly wrong. And of course, I'm thinking, well, I've never been under anesthetic, so I don't know if I'm allergic to anything. What if I am? What if something goes bad? I've got a little bit of nerves. And this lady's like, you were an obstacle to me just getting through with my workday. Terrence, don't worry. Don't get put off your Alfredo. But the actual procedure, I didn't feel a thing. I mean, I was knocked out. The anesthesiologist, she said to me something like, okay, good night. And sure enough, when I just kind of saw her on my periphery. I don't know if it was some of the drip or some needle, but she did something, and I just basically star wiped to sleep. And I didn't wake, and I woke up, and there's the doctor saying, hey, they found one little polyp, they removed it. Apparently, that's not unusual. And the doctor was like, yeah, basically, if there's anything wrong with this, I'll let you know, and you'll be able to get out of here in a half hour. And it only took about a half hour. I did get lovely pictures of it, though, if anyone wants to see. Maybe I should post in one of those Instagram. I'm sure if I was more of a millennial, I would be posting my colon pictures, interior of my colon, on Insta or something. Terrence says, take comfort in their callousness. I wish I could do that. But it was over and done. But the anesthesia I really had, I was like, yeah, I'll go home. And because it's early, I'll be done. I was home at like 11. I thought, yeah, I'll just kind of, maybe I'll try to take a little nap, and I'll take a shower, and then I'll be ready to stream. And then I was like, yeah, maybe I'll have to stream a little bit later. And then I laid down for a nap, and I was out till 7 o'clock at night, something like that. So apologies if I led anybody astray, thinking like, yeah, but my intentions were to stream yesterday, but yeah, it didn't happen. I did think of something to do, and it's good that I feel like I've got the time, because presumably I kind of plan to do sort of a double stream, not double in terms of doing two different things, but just have a longer than usual stream to make up for yesterday. I came across this, was posted, I believe, and I'll go ahead and share the screen here. Get this up. Posted to, as you can see here, the Piazza. I swear I remember this from ages ago, but I hadn't been here in forever. But someone posted on here some really cool stuff. I thought we could take a look at it. This was posted by Traverse Travis on the 20th, so a few days ago. Bill Wilkerson's original known world documents, parenthetically now in OD&D booklet form. I'm not sure if anybody in the chat has seen this, come across these before. Let me read what Travis says. Bill Wilkerson. Oh, and here, let me, I'll get the link. I posted it in the forums, so you can also check in the forum link to get that, but I will post the link here as well. Let's see, let me just grab that. So if you're in the chat, you can follow along. There we go. There's the link. Bill Wilkerson, a player in Tom Moldvay's and Lawrence Schick's original known world campaign, circa 1976 to 1979, graciously met with me at a copy shop in Akron this morning, and we scanned the contents of his accordion folder. These documents are the complete set of the Akron/Kent OD&D original known world house rules, crafted by Moldvay and Schick with some additions by Wilkerson. These scans build upon what was shared in some earlier posts. These documents were in Bill Wilkerson's folder, so here we have a list of the documents that were here that he was able to get at the copy shop. Photocopies of Moldvay's and Schick's OD&D house rules, scanned in 3 batches, which they arbitrarily designated A, B, and C. Tom Moldvay's character sheet for one of his PCs, Morrigan, a human female fighter / magic user. This is an original, not photocopied document featuring Tom's own ballpoint pen handwriting. Hey, Brian Smith. Keep that treadmill going. Bill Wilkerson's campaign prep notes, which provide further details on the original known world, such as the name of the continent, Imros. These were his notes from when he prepared to DM in the original known world, though as far as he recalls, he didn't put them to use. And then also the Quest for the Sacred Scepter adventure, Bill Wilkerson's submission in one of the early dungeon design contests held by Dragon Magazine, set in the Kingdom of Talinor. The adventure was not selected, and the contest rules stipulated that the submissions become property of TSR. Bill wonders how the dating of his Spider Queen design relates to the dating and development of Lolth, and whether he based his Spider Queen on Lolth or vice versa. I looked up the International Dungeon Design Contest. The first contest posted a list of winners in Dragon 32, which was December 1979. It says the judging took 2 months longer than planned, and the start of the second contest was announced in Dragon 36 in April 1980. Any experts in Lolth are welcome to chime in. There are many gems to uncover in Wilkerson's cache. I've barely started just myself. Feel free to start pulling gems out and showing them to us all. And then someone named Shannon Appelklein put them... maybe I should just read the text. Kindly compiled the OD&D house rules and setting into a single PDF composed of 4 OD&D style booklets, and then he did 2 versions, a PDF and an OCR PDF. He's written something here, and this is what I figured we would look at today, is that combined PDF. Shannon writes, wow, Travis, amazing. Thanks so much. I reorganized the papers into a coherent order, indexed them, removed the duplicates, and also removed the giants in the earth, which were from Dragon Magazine, and thus a copyright problem. I didn't include the adventure, but the 3 house rule files and Bill's prep notes are there. If you like, please feel free to copy it to your Google Doc. I also created an OCR searchable version, but it really bloated in size for some reason, but feel free to use that too if you like. If you notice I missed anything or misordered anything, let me know. It's relatively easy to revamp. So there we go. And then someone does chime in and say that Vault of the Drow, which had both, and it was published in 1978, so maybe Bill Wilkerson got the idea from there. So this is kind of like a little bit of a time capsule, if you will. There's links to the Google Drive. If you follow that link to the Piazza forum post, I just pulled down and I put it in. I don't usually use Edge to look at my PS, but I thought this would be an easy way to get around any shenanigans with. Sometimes in Restream, if I try to close one sharing window and open another one, I get issues. Like it just stops working. So I thought this was kind of a workaround. And then we can go back and forth and check a look at the forums. But I thought since there's a bunch of material here, looks like at least 99 pages, more or less. I don't know why I say at least. It says 99 pages, but I don't know if that numbering's correct or not. But there's a bunch of stuff we could look at. I figure this will fill up a bunch of time. If not the full 2 hours or whatever we do, then maybe even beyond. So here we have the known world, and we're looking at the men in magic. I love this stuff. I guess another stream I'll probably want to go over is that there's another one of these PDFs that's been floating around for a while now of basically the kind of newsletters from one of these gaming groups. I think it's from the Twin Cities, but I don't recall exactly. And they're just wonderful. Their recaps of the game sessions are awesome. You get to see all the ups and downs and things they were, and you really get a sense of what that early kind of play was that I missed out on because I was a little bit young for this crowd. I mean, I was born in 73, so I was obviously way too young to be playing in 76 and 79. And then, I was playing with other kids my age, didn't have any kind of organized groups or anything like this that were even semi-serious. Certainly not serious enough to even put out anything like a newsletter. We were just goofing around, basically. So, a bunch of different characters here. I don't know what these. Those origins of characters. Are these states? I guess you can roll. So Theatis, that sounds familiar. That's from somewhere, right? Theatis? Is that from Conan? I know it's from some established cosmology, or I don't know what cosmology, legendarum. I don't know if it's Conan or whatever, but Theatis definitely sounds familiar. This definitely has that kind of Judges Guild. I mean, just a type, typed and sort of not necessarily having intros and outros of what you're going to do. It's just, hey, this is someone's house rule document, so I guess I give Judges Guild, the original stuff, a little bit more flack because they were actually putting something out for publication, and they didn't really do much. I mean, it seems like they organized it for someone that kind of knows exactly how it works, but you have to really. I don't know how someone's supposed to look at that and really understand how those works unless they had somebody to almost decipher it for them. This was someone's home stuff, so they just had to make it understandable for them. But these look like these are cities. We have a whole bunch of cities. Or maybe just places. Okay, so that's the parentheticals. We have E is equals empire, C-S is city-state, K kingdom, T tribe, F freehold, C just a city, and star marginally human. And I'm not going to read them all, but we've got Karamakos, Theatis. Is Theatis just from the known world, or is that from somewhere else? It keeps sticking out in my brain, but I don't know. Nank Robob, Yalarzm, Biazin, Lintref, lots of cool places. If the character comes from a civilized state with a capital city, there's a 25% chance he comes from the capital. For Gorlu, where's Gorlu on there? Is that a... I don't know. For Gorlu, this is Glantry. Okay, Glantry, there we go. For Sizavi, this is Sklavok. For the Alacia, this is either Selenica or Exoli. The Haldani kingdoms have no capital. Well, there you go. Here we get the races. Oh, look at this. So they scratched in, they kind of writ in there Hobbit after the fact. So here are the races. And look at this. So this is, so we're talking this is 1976 to 1979. Right? So this is early on. And look at that. You can be an orc. Ba-dum-bum-bum. So look at that. You don't have to wait till 5th edition to be an orc. You can be an orc right here in this home game. I'd love to know what a great orc is. So we got humans. You have a 75% chance of being human. So everything else is pretty small percentages. And then you've got, a 4% chance of being a dwarf, a 4% chance of being an elf. Or actually even less, because they added, since they shoehorned Hobbit in there, it's a 2% chance. Oh, no, they didn't shoehorn it in. Sorry, it's an omission. They chart. This is the nice thing of back in the day when you had to type stuff in. Oh, Elfbase says great orc is likely Uruk-hai. Oh, that's cool. I'll take it. I'm surprised they just say Uruk-hai. They say Hobbit, and this is someone's house rule, so they don't have to worry about the TSA or Tolkien estate coming in on them. I think the interesting thing here is just kind of funny. 81, 85 is Elf, and then jumps to 88. They meant to have Hobbit in there. They missed it when they typeset it. So they just had to write in next to it. Oh, wait, you forgot. 2% chance of being Hobbit squeezed in there. You could be a goblin, a hobgoblin, a bugbear. Ooh, you can be basically a dog person, cat person, or rat person. Elfbase says also orc PCs have always been an option as per the OD&D and Second Ed. OD&D, I don't remember. They mentioned orcs specifically. I know they mentioned basically, hey, PCs can be anything, but I don't know if they were. I don't think they were specifically in there in OD&D. But correct me if I'm wrong. They were part of something else. 2E. I think the interesting thing here is I'm guessing, though we don't know yet, right? Is the one thing that comes up is the concept of orcs must be evil / kind of chaotic evil, whatnot. And I'll be curious if they have a similar thing here, whether if orcs have to be evil or not, or whether they were doing and just saying, hey, your alignment is your alignment kind of thing. Brian Smith says, God save you if you have been a Hobbits for your game back in the day. Yeah, they were. I definitely feel like, Hobbits were kind of a must. So many people must have come from Tolkien into this. Yeah, they just got to have Hobbits, got to have some kind of, got to have orcs, got to have things like that. Terrence says, great orc versus the so-so orc. Yeah, the meh orc. Give me a great orc, you can be meh orc. Okay, there's a 75% chance the character is male, 25% female. Other than we would probably, I would just make this 50-50 pretty much at that point, but I think the interesting thing here is you're rolling for it. You don't get to choose, or, I'm sure, you probably could get to choose, but the idea they had that basically up to chance. Non-human characters still roll for origin, but it is approximate. There's only a 2%, 25% chance that their social status will be recognized by humans. And then the infrequently seen horrible orc, or hork. Horrible orc, aka the hork. Or if you're on Fantasy Island, the Rourke. Hey, that's maybe an ancient reference, but it's in line with these rules. We are in the Fantasy Island period right now. Okay, we have languages, Theatic, Iasuli. We're basically, I don't know if we're supposed to roll for these. You basically just pick where you live, but there's 10 of them. And then goblins, we got to see the non-human languages, essentially goblin, orcish, elder, ogre, gnome, and cheblin. Or is that geblin? Maybe it's geblin. Probably geblin. And we get your social level. the Ready Reference rules had social levels. I always think they're cool. I mean, it's a I like these things, but it's a got to be careful with them, right? Because you start giving people social levels, and if you end up as slave or serf, it's not going to dominate. It's not going to be a dominant factor in their entire career. Because if it is, I think I just like, well, I don't want to deal with that. Like if you're a runaway slave, and then you're essentially free, you can do whatever you want, and you can play with it, and maybe, but you want it. At least for me, I wouldn't want these kind of social levels, especially when you're just rolling them randomly, to have a really major lifelong impact on your character. Same thing if you're a major royal, you probably got to be exiled or you're disinherited or something, because why are you? I know there's Prince Hal running around with Falstaff. It maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I wouldn't want that person to then be able to command everybody or have an easy time, and then some other poor player is saddled with something horrible. And then we have these inheritance that you get with it. So you have no inheritance, basic inheritance, and then these multipliers. Oh, okay. So you can inherit on a roll of 1 on a 6-sided die. Let's see. Basic inheritance equals percent dice times 10 gold pieces. Skills are cumulative, but not necessarily retroactive. I'm not sure what that means because I haven't seen skills yet. New skills are rolled at random. Cumulative skills may be chosen to fit the character. Original experience is independent of social level. Original experience equals age times a 20-sided die. These are some interesting stuff. Darren says Chitlin is a D&D language. It could be. Hey, these are really interesting just in being, just giving you a taste of something. So what is original experience? That means you start the game with a certain amount of experience. So you'd roll a 20-sided die. So if you said you were 20 years old and you roll a 20, does that mean you start with, what would that be, 400 experience? Kind of cool. We have this bit at the bottom. Roll 1 12-sided die. If a 12, roll percentage dice. Okay, then you advance. All right, you roll a 12-sided die. If you get a 12, then you roll percent. 1 to 50. So, oh, I see. Okay, so I think I'm catching this. So if you're rolling on this, so the social levels have 18 levels, but you're not rolling a 3d6. You're rolling a d12. If you haven't get a 12, I think then you would roll this other die, and then if you get higher than that, and then if you roll a percentage, depending on what percentage you get, you might be a Baron, Viscount, Count Earl, Marquis, Duke, Archduke, or Prince. Let's see. Advanced social level 1 for every 5 levels of experience, or whenever the character performs a particularly. Sorry, hold on. Let me say that again. So, I think this is then in generally. It's kind of, one of the things others. These are kind of typeset. They're kind of everything's kind of mushed together. I'm presuming so they could fit it on the page. So there's stuff. Oh, I can highlight you. Yeah, I'll highlight you. I think maybe the stuff I've highlighted right here is generally, which is to say you advance your social level 1 for every 5 levels of experience, or whenever the character performs a particularly daring and noteworthy deed, especially one which arouses the admiration of the community. For example, funding a new temple or university, pacifying a large area, hunting spell using red dragons to rescue comrades, raping the horde of the Giblins. I don't know about raping the horde of the Giblins. I don't know if I like the sound of that. Maybe. Can we rephrase that, Bob? Would we rephrase raping the horde of the Giblins into something a little bit less? Well, it seems like some interesting stuff. I kind of have a feeling that, man, for every 5 levels, I feel like you're going to get a lot more daring and noteworthy stuff. But a couple of things I like about this. Okay, number one, you got a clear path. Hey, I'm a freed slave. I'm at the bottom of the ladder. Okay, but I have this path I can go because I'm not going to be there forever. It's not. I just had this fear. I've just said, am I going to be haunted with this forever? No. Because for every so many levels, I can go up. I can pull myself from my bootstraps by leveling up, and then I will get out of that way. But maybe more of a practical importance, because look, I most games, I don't know how many levels you're getting up to, but in the teens, probably max. So that only means if you start at a freed slave, and you get to the highest you're going to get, which is probably somewhere in the teens, depending on which rules you're doing, you're only getting up from slave to say you get up to level 15 at whatever you are. That's only going to get you up to a freeman. Right? You start as a slave, and you go 1, 2, 3. You're only at a freeman. Not a big deal. But if you can perform some noteworthy deeds, including things like, hey, fund a temple or university, which is another way of saying spend your money. You're making all this money. You're wondering what to do with it. Spend it. If you spend it, that can help boost you up. So yeah, maybe by level 15, you could be just a freeman, or you could even be a minor noble if you do enough great deeds. Hey, Dave Mills. Jack Hole says, can you press your luck and die in character creation like Traveler? It doesn't look like it, though. You might just want to impale yourself, depending on what you get. Dave Mills, hey. Terrence says, non-optional sexing the Horde of the Chitlins. The Horde of Chitlins. There's some people might be really excited by the Horde of Chitlins. Here we have some... Ooh. I have not pre-read these, by the way, so I'm seeing all these for the first time. We have crafts, master crafts, and we have our guilds. So here are the kind of crafts you can potentially have. We don't know yet. There's nothing. We haven't looked yet to see how we're supposed to roll for these, unless it's on that other page. This page said skills. New skills are rolled at random. Cumulative skills may be chosen. I'm not sure what that means. Cumulative skills. Okay, well, let's just look at the... I'm guessing maybe skills and crafts. Am I insane by thinking those are the same? That when they say crafts and master crafts, they mean skills? So here are the crafts. Sailmaker, carpenter, candlemaker, fletcher, bowyer, brewer, tinker, rope maker, potter, and then kind of a catch-all for other. And then master crafts, which seem to be linked. So we had sailmaker, now we have shipwright, we have carpenter, now we have wagoneer. Candlemaker, I don't know, candlemaker to blacksmith. Maybe that fits. I don't know. They seem to be pretty different. But anyway, you have blacksmith, mason, goldsmith, minstrel, tracker, calligrapher, cartographer, and then another other. We have some guilds. We have animal trainers, mercenaries, interpreters, sages, scribes, armorers, engineers, navigators, jewelers, and another other. With some text that says, guildsmen are subject to the 1 to 20 gold pieces dues per month, plus 20% of all monies earned by their skills, even if not under contract. Failure to do so is a criminal offense in most cities. Guildmasters need not pay dues and are paid a 1 to 100 a gold piece consultant retainer per year. They pay 10% of monies earned by them only when under guild contract. The guild will pay 50% of a guildsman's medical and legal fees and 75% of those incurred by a guildmaster. All members receive free housing and food. They are also subject to guild justice, not civil justice, for misdemeanors, but not felonies. So some really interesting things here about, what's the thing of concrete reasons why you want to enter a guild. And a lot of times in the fantasy realm, we just think of thieves guilds. You don't really think of other things, but this has a lot of good reason. I mean, especially if you go back to that last page and say, well, what are the kinds of things you can do to gain social levels? I would say founding a guild in a place that didn't have one for one of these guilds could be one. Then you get to be a guild master. Then you start to get paid, so much per year. They'll pay a lot of your bills, and you get free housing and food. And of course, even if you're not a guild master, you just want to join one of these guilds. Sure, you're going to have to give some monies earned by skills, but those are really going to only kind of come into play, I would guess, mostly downtime, and maybe not if you're a mercenary, but some of these other ones. And then you got a free place to eat and stay whenever you're in a town that's got a guild. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Here we go. We're going to get non-human player characters. I'm kind of curious. I'm not so much interested in the physical parts of it. But dwarves get +4 levels when rolling saves versus magic. They've got the slanting passages, shifting walls, traps, new construction on a 1 or 2 and a d6. Infravision. Thieves gain % bonuses. Only race who can use the +3 Warhammer. Let's see. Elves. These are the kind of shorter version of elves, so only 5 foot tall. In wilderness, can move silently and surprise on a 1 and 4 and a d6. Can blend into vegetation, so almost invisible when not attacking. That's pretty good. 90% resistant to charm. So not 100% resistant, but 90% resistant to charm and sleep. Cannot be paralyzed by ghoul types. 60 feet infravision. Secret doors on a 1 or 2. And they also have acute hearing, but no particular language. It's cute, but why aren't you cute? But no, they haven't given it no specific bonus. Hobbits, 3 feet tall. So dwarves are 4 feet tall. Elves are 5 feet tall. Hobbits are 3 feet tall, more or less. They have +4 saves when rolling versus magic and poison. They can move quietly and surprise on a 1 and 4 and a d6. They have the same vegetal blending like elves. Thieves gain % bonuses. No hobbits of 18 strength will be found. So I guess they have, should we call that a soft cap of, they're not saying, so they're not giving you a -1 to strength. But I'm guess they're saying that, hey, if you got an 18 strength, don't be a hobbit. So I guess there's kind of a soft cap on the strength of hobbits. Terrence asks, where does that secret door thing come from anyway? As far as being able to detect them, I'm not sure. That's actually a really good question. I would love to know if somebody knows what the where the kind of elves. I get the dwarves part a little bit more in terms of, oh, look, they can spot all kinds of stonemasonry stuff, because that seems kind of typical, at least in the Tolkien kind of dwarves that are all about mining and things like that. But I don't know where the elves and secret doors things comes from, or why they have that kind of affinity. Now we get to orcs and great orcs. Elfbait says heightened senses. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know if that does it, because it's just those. It's not. They're not getting a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't know. Elfbait also says delicate touch, acute vision. Maybe. But it's not like they have to do something, you know. It's kind of like you open the door into a room and then elves just get that roll. It's not even like they have to go touch it or do something. So I'm not sure. It seems kind of supernatural or hypernatural, but I don't know. I don't know what. I'm not sure. Brian Smith says, I hate and love that there's a kind of slim chance of lots of flexibility. Like, it's not flat out saying hobbits can't be strong, but it will take a hell of a lucky roll. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yes, I agree with you, Brian Smith. It's kind of a soft cap. Hey, you're not going to find any hobbits with 18 strength, but it doesn't say you can't be. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you had 18 strength, which is already not that easy to do, I guess maybe you wouldn't want to play a hobbit anyway. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good point. Okay, now we get the orcs and great orcs. Orcs are 5 feet tall, so they're similar, but great orcs are 6 feet tall, which kind of, I think, goes in line with the sort of if they're kind of Uruk-hai types. Let's see, they can sniff out underground works and traps like dwarves. Orcs with 18th strength will always be great orcs. Okay. So a orc with 18 strength is always a great orc, but it doesn't say you have to have 18 strength to be a great orc, so I don't know. Orcs consider elves their hereditary enemy, that they don't really like anybody, which is kind of alluding to them being evil, but it's not saying they're being evil. I don't know. Infravision, 60 feet. Goblins, 4 feet tall, so about the same height as dwarves. They have a 1 in 6 chance of sniffing out underground works or traps. But they get the same % bonuses equal to dwarves, which I'm not really sure what they're referring to with the gain % bonuses for thieves, but maybe we'll see it. Goblins with a 16 or above strength will always be hobgoblins or bugbears. That's kind of interesting. All goblin types consider dwarves and gnomes their enemies. So I have to say, I kind of like the fact that you have sort of different versions of these creatures, almost like you have species or related species, or I don't know what you have, families within a species. So you're in the goblin family. If you roll really strongly, then I don't even know why they just didn't say, hey, if you roll a 16 or 17, you're a hobgoblin. If you rolled an 18, you're a bugbear, and just go with that. But it's kind of cool. Bugbears are big, 7 feet tall. They surprise on a 1 in 3, which is kind of really surprising since they're 7 feet tall. They do have 60 feet infravision. We have leprechauns. These are all human. These are all non-human. Oh, but they're all players. So these are all, I was going to say, they're all non-human. They're all player. So these are all player choices. So you not only can be a goblin, hobgoblin, bugbear, you can be a leprechaun. Can detect invisible enemies, or can detect invisible. No, okay, so leprechauns, yeah, none will be found with a 17 or 18 strength. They get detect magic at first level. Charm 1 to 4 at second level, levitate at third level, confusion at fourth level, and dimension door at fifth level, regardless of other spell use. Wow, so leprechauns, that's pretty strong. And they're 2 foot, 2.5 feet tall, basically. Terrence says goblins digivolve into hobgoblin. Absolutely. And then hobgoblins, go into bugbears. Any lucky charms, says Dave Mills. Apparently don't ask for them, but they luck, but they've got the charm. So yeah, potentially. You can be a banshee, 6 feet tall. Okay, there's shriek. Here we go. Can shriek so that magic users cannot throw spells within 30 feet. Plus 10 feet per level. Wow, you talk about an anti-magic weapon. Get your banshee. Forget using anti-magic spell. Just bring a banshee, a high-level banshee, and just let them keep wailing. Let's see. Starting second MR. Is that supposed to be, I don't know, maybe second level? All creatures in range take 1 to 3 points per /MR. What is MR? Meter? 30 feet? 3 points per meter? Brian Smith says, this is just somebody's house rules, right? Yes, it is somebody's house rules. Somebody who played in the original Moldvay game. So this, going back up to here really quick, these are the house rules from Tom Moldvay and Lawrence Schick's original known world from 76 to 79. So yes, they are someone's house rules, but I wouldn't say just someone. A pretty important someone, given they worked on maybe my favorite version of the game. So yes. So, but I guess a couple things, right? This is someone who's obviously had a very influential role in the evolution of D&D. Number one, and number two, kind of early on, so we were getting a chance to see sort of what kind of things were people running just in their games, right? How were people house ruling their games? What did they look like? And this is obviously somebody who was playing in a game that had pretty important ramifications in the game. So it's interesting to see what they're in potentially in a few years working on D&D. What were their home rules like? Dave Mill says magic resistance for the Banshees. For MR. No, I don't think so. I don't know what MR is because it says 1 to 3 points per MR kind of from the shriek. I don't know what MR because I want to say maybe it's meter, but they're using feet. So, okay, not meter. I don't know. I'm not sure what MR, but they use it twice, so I hesitate that that's a typo. Is it like something around melee round? Is that something like combat? Maybe it's a round. Maybe it's like your combat round, melee round. I don't know. Not sure. Ooh, fighter banshees roll only a 6-sided hit die. They tend to be cowardly. There you go. Some old guy's wacky Dungeons and Dragons, you say? I do. I do say. But just look at this. These are those things I think, and I don't know if I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, but I feel like maybe this is something that gets lost on a lot of folks. You get these kind of new school versus old school, and the grognards, and man, they just they're just so tight, whatever. And I feel like sometimes some of the people who get out in front and rep the grognard element maybe do kind of fit that bill a bit. But look at all the choices you have here for your player character. I mean, this is not like, here are non-NPCs you'll meet. This is all stuff you can be. And here we've got orcs and goblins and obviously elves and hobbits. We got leprechauns and banshees and gnomes and gnolls and kobolds and troglodytes and centaurs and whatever Kzinti are and ogres and ogre magi and lizard men and turtle men. I mean, what are those things called in 5th edition? Turtle men that everyone was in love with for a while? Turtles? Turtle here, 1976. So that alone is kind of interesting. And Elfbait, I agree with you. Old school was just as flexible and fun as today. But I think that a lot of grognards tend to kind of wave like, oh, you're going to be a cat person and you got to be this special snowflake or meh, meh, meh. But look, they had that as a choice. You could be a Toadman in this game. And I feel like I don't know what happened. Somewhere between here and what we have now, this whole idea that you could be all this different stuff kind of got into this sort of like, oh, I don't know what you kids wanted. We were happy with being just an elf, a dwarf, or a man. You didn't need all that funny business. But there's plenty of funny business in this document, and it's great, right? And this is from the day, right? This isn't like somebody coming in and saying, "Oh, I'm doing this," and whatever. I'm playing Into the Odd, and I'm doing this stuff. No, like this is 1976, and you could be a Toad Man. You could be a turtle. You could be a Toad Man. You could be a troglodyte, a banshee. This, but somehow that got lost. So I love these documents when they show up again because they kind of shine a light to. No, it wasn't. I just think that the old school stuff gets a rep, and some of it is wounds that are self-inflicted of being really uptight and strict and no fun. And this clearly shows that no, you could be all kinds of stuff. All right, so we had, let's see, banshees. We did gnomes. Let's see, gnomes hate goblins and kobolds so much they get a +1 hit when fighting them. Again, no gnomes of 18 strength will be found. Ian Boyle, hey Ian, said, so I just finished John Peterson's The Elusive Shift last night, and even as far back as 74, there was so much heated discourse about wargame versus roleplay versus raw versus why even roll. Well, that's fascinating. I haven't read that one yet. I've read Playing at the World. I need to pick that one up. Brian Smith said, deciding this hobby is anything but infinitely flexible and unique to you is a mistake. Yes. And then Elfbase says, too many loud OSR folks misrepresenting the past. Yeah, and some of them, look, they lived through the past. It's not like they didn't do it. But yeah, I don't know. They've just taken this approach. I really think part of it has to do with the kind of the politicization of it. And it's just, if you're in a certain political camp, then having all this flexibility just doesn't jibe. So you tend to like, no, it didn't exist. They're only humans, damn it. Everyone else was evil. And it's like, well, that's probably wasn't the case. And you just get to see more of that now. But yeah, I mean, this should just be highlighting the fact that no, you don't have to be. It wasn't something that Knave invented. This stuff has been around. Terrence, that's a good thing. It's called smog-colored glasses. Indeed. All right, so we got kobolds. So we had gnomes, kobolds. Anything interesting there? Fighters roll only a 6-sided die. They hate gnomes so much they attack practically on sight. So that's kind of an old school thing. This idea of the hatreds. These guys hate those guys, hate the other guys. I'm okay with that kind of vanishing because it gets a little bit. It feels silly. That's one thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with. I'm fine with it. Elvis says, I certainly didn't run it like they run it. That they say it was run. Yeah, for sure. Okay, where are we at? So we got kobolds, troglodytes, 6 feet tall, 90 feet infravision, chameleon power, surprises on a 1 and 4 on D6, AC 5 without armor, no trogs with 18 charisma will be found. I love these soft caps. Soft caps on these skills. They're not saying you can't have 18 charisma, but we haven't found one yet. You might be the one. 25% will have 2 javelin, which do 2 to 8 points of damage, and are +3 when used by trogs. Wow. So you might, if you rolled under 25%, you get to start the game with 2 javelins, and you get a +3 to use them. Centaurs, 9 feet tall, 9 to 12 feet long, also AC 5 without armor. Oh, and they get 2 front hoof attacks, 1 to 6 points each. All right, so I have no idea what Kzinti is. Okay, here we go. 6.5 feet tall. A felinoid race, even fiercer than the Felis sapiens. I don't even know what Felis sapiens are. I'm guessing they're just regular cat people. The Kzinti live for war and to attack on the least or no provocation. All Kzinti must have at least 13 dex. Retractable claws enable them to use weapons or claw for 1 to 3 damage. A Kzin can also bite for 1 to 3. But it doesn't say they can do both at the same time. So I guess you choose. But you always have a weapon if you're a Kzinti. Ogres, 9 feet tall, also have AC 5 without armor. They have to have at least 16 strength. Ogres with 18 intelligence will always be Ogre Magi. Ogre Magi are 10.5 feet tall, AC 4 without armor. An Ogre Mage can regenerate 1 point per melee. This MR must mean melee round. I'm guessing that's just their combat round. So regular Ogres don't get any kind of regen. Ogre Mages regen 1 point per round, but not return from death that way. Must have at least 16 strength. They gain one of the following spells for each level advanced, regardless of other spell use. So basically, even if you're not a actual magic user as an Ogre Mage, you're getting at least some spells. So you get at random one of fly, invisibility, darkness, 10 feet radius, polymorph to humanoid, charm, sleep, assume gaseous form, or cold spell, which I'm guessing is kind of a cone of cold type. I'm not sure, but those are all really decent spells. Really decent spells. I would have no problem. I mean, it'd be probably pretty cool to play like an Ogre Mad Thief. Got a good AC, even if you're not wearing any armor. Get some spells. A lot of them seem to be good at sneaking around stuff like, polymorph to humanoid and charm and sleep, a gaseous form. It doesn't say how often you can use these spells you get. I wonder what kind of caps they put on. Lizard men, 7 feet tall. 7 feet tall. AC 5 without armor, can swim at, I guess that's 12 inches. They just get a swim speed. Use tail for propulsion. None will be found with 18 charisma. What race y'all talking about? I'm thinking of a Kzinti named Feliz Navidad. Ah, dun 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 dun. Yes, indeed. Are Kzin in Star Trek, Terrence? I must have missed that. I didn't even know they were in Ringworld. You must be talking about classic Star Trek. Well, this is the 70s, so it had to have been classic Star Trek. I don't recall them, but I don't doubt it. I'm not. I love the original Star Trek, but I'm not one of those people that's memorized everything. Toadman, 5 feet tall, AC 7 without armor, squat, ugly. That must be bumpy skinned amphibians. If their skin is touched or if they hit with open hand, wha-pow! What did the 5 fingers say to this? They do 1 to 6 points of oozing acid damage. Ouch. None will be found with better than 15 charisma. So they're saying essentially no one's seen a handsome Toadman, is what they're saying. Oh, Terrence says they showed up in the animated series. And Brian Smith says, let's assemble a standard old school party, with a banshee here and an ogre there. Yeah, absolutely. We're on to page 2 of these guys. They got a lot. So we got snake men, 5.5 feet tall. So they have bodies that appear human, but heads like giant vipers. And they have the use of a permanent mask spell when desired so that they can be totally disguised as humans or other humanoids, not subject to dispel at touch. Interesting. So they have a really good, essentially, I guess, mask spell. I never heard the mask spell. And it's mask QUE. So it's fancy mask. Each snake man has the use of an additional magical spell rolled up at random using the scrolls chart. Charisma can be altered at will, but none gain charisma bonuses beyond their natural rolls. Oh, that's really cool. So really interesting Snake Man. I think that's kind of a Thulsa Doom thing, callback. Oh, let's see. Elfbait says this is going back to the Kazin. They run into the animated series in an episode written by Larry Niven, the author that wrote the Man Kazin Wars. Aha! Well, there you go. A lot of famous sci-fi folks wrote for Star Trek and the animated series, so that makes sense. I never realized there was a Man Kazin Star Trek. I'm pretty sure I've seen all the animated series, but I don't remember them very well. That's probably why it didn't occur to me. Well, the Snake Men are interesting. So, okay, we got dragons. Player character dragons are limited to those types which can polymorph to human or animal form. Well, that's interesting. It kind of makes sense in that. I'll go ahead and highlight you. They're not trying to get into trouble of people. One character is playing a creature that can't possibly interact with anybody because everyone's just going to run crapping themselves away or come back with pitchforks and spears to kill them. So making it that, yeah, you have to be a dragon that can change into human form is kind of your prerequisite. Is makes sense. They do get intravision, 60 feet, detect hidden and invisible. Dragons get double hit dice, but are never clerics or thieves. Other abilities plus alignment are by type. That's the one interesting. Oops, I highlighted too much. That's the one. So they don't give any details, and maybe they'll have it later on. In terms of, can I remove the highlighting? I guess I can't. I wanted to. Nope. Stop. Oh, there we go. None. Can I do that? Yep. I'll just re-highlight it. I guess the interesting thing here is this is the one that they've one class so far they've mentioned alignment in. That, hey, your abilities and alignment are by type. So you pick your type of dragon, and that will tell you what they are. They haven't given what the advancement is. Maybe they'll have that later in the document. Elfbit says mask sounds like alter self. Yeah, it's just kind of a pretty powerful alter self. It seems like it was kind of limited. I'm guessing it's not limited just to the face, because they said they could kind of look like any humanoid. But maybe that would, I don't know, because it didn't. Maybe some gray area in there as far as what are they actually. Is it just the face that they're able to mask, or is it their entire form? But it can't be dispelled, and you can't, or at least dispel by touch. I suppose dispel magic would still work, but just touching it won't actually make it change. So they can get away with a lot of mischief in their non-natural form. So they have this thing called Mercurial, which I have no idea what that is. And they don't say what they are. They're 5.5 feet tall, slim. Mercurials get a 4-sided hit die regardless of class, and add only 1 point per level beyond 4th. 1 point per level. What are they? Were they getting kind of ASI type things in this game? They never wear armor heavier than AC 7. But what is a Mercurial? Anyone know? Mercurials that ring a bell for anyone? Ooh, we got 4 types of Sphinxes you could be. Okay, so these have alignments, or at least the Andrew Sphinx is chaotic. Andrew gains its first roar at 2nd level, its 2nd at 4th, and its 3rd at 6th. For every 2 levels, it advances. It goes up 1 level as a chaotic cleric, regardless of other class abilities. If just a cleric, all cleric levels are added together. It's 8 foot tall, wings, male, cannot be a thief. So that's interesting right there. The Cryo Sphinx, 7.5 feet tall, wings, male, neutral animals, not as a spell, cannot be a thief. The Gino Sphinx, 7 feet tall, wings, female, neutral. At 4 gains detect magic and detect invisibility. At 2nd level, read magic and read languages. At 3rd level, locate object and clairaudience. At 4th level, clairvoyance. And at 5th level, remove curse. At 6th level, legend lore. At 7th, symbol, regardless of other spell using abilities, also cannot be a thief. Elvis says, maybe Mercurials are liquid metal people or just shapeshifters. I don't know. Brian Smith says maybe it's like a T1000 plus dragon. I don't know. It's I don't know that the shape the mask ability is kind of interesting. The Mercurials is just, yeah, I don't know. They don't say anything more about what they are. So I don't know. Okay, so those, and then there's the Hierarchus Sphinx. Hierarchus Sphinx? I don't know. I tried my best. 7 feet tall, wings, chaotic male or female, cannot be an elf. That's it. Or cannot be a thief. All right. I mean, they could have just said chaotic. Oh, no, 2 of them are neutral. So we got 2 that are chaotic, 2 that are neutral. Apparently, there are no sphinxes of law. Lamassu. 7 feet tall, wings, lawful. Inspiration must be at least inspiration. What's inspiration? They have do they have an attribute I haven't been aware of? Inspiration must be at least 15. What is inspiration, pray tell? For each level advanced, it also advances 1 level as a cleric. No additional XP needed. At 1st level, can become invisible. At 3rd, gains double strength, protection / evil, 10-foot radius. At 5th dimension door, all Lamassu's cure spells are double strength. Cannot be a thief. For that matter, Lamassu and all Sphinxes must fight with their natural weaponry. Wow, but they haven't said what their natural weaponry is. I don't know. Terrence says, with that few HPs, Mercurial better have working wings on their feet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's another thing. Are they are they hermetic, or do they have winged feet they can run around? I mean, hopefully we'll get more details because it really is intriguing. But it's just funny that all these other ones give all these kind of physical details about what they are, and the Mercurials are just like, they're slim. That's it. 5.5 feet tall and slim, and have four. And only have get a 4-sided die for their hit dice, regardless of their class. And I guess they only add one. I'm thinking that 1 point per level is probably just their hit points. So not only do they get a crappy 4-sided die for hit points, after 4th level, I think they're just adding 1 point per level. So you're brutally little hit points. Brutally little. Okay, we get to the Balrog. Oh, they gave him wings. I mean, not really a surprise, but they did. 12 foot tall, wings, plus 6 points on all saving throws versus magic. At first level, there's a 10% chance a Balrog will be able to immolate. Whoa. And at second 20%. So I guess they can flame on. Like the Human Torch. Giants. All giants get double hit dice, except hills, which get 1.5 hit dice. Storm giants get 2.5 hit dice. Cloud giants, 18 feet tall, neutral, surprise on only a 1 in a d6, plus 4 damage. Fire giants, 12 feet tall, lawful, impervious to fire type attacks, plus 4 damage. Frost, 15 feet tall, chaotic, impervious to cold type attacks, plus 4 damage. Hill giants, 10 feet tall, chaotic, plus 3 damage. Stone giants, 12 feet tall, neutral, plus 4 damage. Storm giants, 21 foot tall, chaotic, plus 5 damage. Impervious to electrical attacks. They gain lightning bolt at 1st level, levitate at 2nd level, water breathing and predict weather at 3rd level, control winds at 4th level, weather summoning at 5th level, call lightning at 6th level, regardless of other spell use. Whew. Storm giants, rocking it. So one thing that's interesting here is I just want to go back because it's clear that this document for certain species do give alignments. We just went through these giants that all have alignments. Notice orcs, no alignment. Goblins, no alignment. And I only say that because of all the things that have come up, people railing against the removal of orcs as being hideously evil all the time. Here we at least have, now granted, this is someone's home rules. This isn't D&D proper. This isn't the Forgotten Realms. This isn't Grumsh. But hey, people in playing orcs without alignment requirements for a while. Now, that's not to say that later on the document they may not say all orcs are chaotic evil, and if so, I will just take it back. But I think it's just wanted to point that out. A lot of these races in here that we in the sort of canon D&D universe, people have been insisting must be evil. People have been house ruling them not to be evil forever, so maybe not get so mad if they officially want to just take away that, undo that piece. Maybe not the end of the world. I don't know. Just me talking. All right. Where were we? What is that? Sahars? I'm just going to zoom in there. What is that? Sahars? Mahars? Okay. I don't know what a Mahar is. Oh, they're pterodactylish. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Mahar is 6.5 feet tall. Pterodactylish looking with large brain cases. Ooh. That's an intriguing image. Mahars communicate by psionic telepathy. They are prone to let others fight for them as their manipulative claws are not very effective for holding weapons. -4 to hit. Wow. Traditionally, all their heavy labor is performed by humanoid slaves. At 1st level, they gain a psionic charm, 1 to 4. At 3rd level, they get charm 1 to 8. At 5th level, charm 1 to 14. And 8th, mass charm. And at 12th, charm any. And at 16th, mass charm any, regardless of other spell use, will tend not to be grateful or obligated for favors done by inferior, quote-unquote, humans. Elfbase says, Mahar are from Journey to the Center of the Earth. They had mind control abilities and controlled a race of cavemen. Oh. All right. Good catch. Elf had not recognized at all. They're really cool. I just love that you have these choices. I love that they will tend not to be grateful or obligated for favors done by inferior humans. Now, these ones look like they're called mangrels. Have I got that right? Someone tell me where mangrels are from. And this is what I love about this stuff, right? D&D, I mean, in the the little brown books. It was full of references from so many different properties, intellectual properties, and stuff that they just cobbled together and threw in there. And I love that because this is totally what people did. I mean, certainly I do that still in my home. Bring in stuff from books and maybe change the names a little bit, maybe not change the names at all. Mangrels are 10 feet tall. AC 2 without armor. Holy cow. Chaotic. Wow, at first level, they regen 1 point per round. At third level, 1 to 2 points. At fifth level, 1 to 3 points. At seventh level, 1 to 4 points. Otherwise, they all have normal mangrel abilities. None will be found with 18 charisma. I love that. They all have normal mangrel ability. I don't know what a mangrel is. So I don't know what a normal mangrel ability is, but I want to find out. I'm going to have to drop some of these in Google or something later if folks can't find them in here because I got to know where they're from. Trolls, 9 foot tall. AC 4 without armor. They regen 3 points per turn. So here it says 3 points per turn, and then it says in parentheses 1 point per 3 melee rounds. What is the difference between a turn and a melee round? Oh, Elfbait says, correction, they're from at the Earth's core. Okay, well, I'll forgive your mistake this time, Elfbait. Just this once. I'm not sure what the difference between a turn and a melee round is. Or is this maybe they're playing where you could have multiple melee rounds within one turn? There was that thing where there was, and I forget where it kind of popped up. I don't know if it was just the way, but there was this idea that you would have, and it might have been coming out of chainmail where you could have, once you kind of got into melee, even though you're within one turn, you could have multiple melee rounds. Maybe that's where this is coming from. And Elfbait apologizes, says the Hollow Earth movies all blend together. Yeah, they do. They do. I'll give you that. Okay, so we got trolls. None will be found with a 17 or 18 charisma. There's a 25% chance that will take any reasonable opportunity to get away with eating somebody, even members of the party. That's a nice little note. Oh, Peter Cushing might be in that one. I love a little Peter Cushing. Just a little Peter Cushing. You can have too much Peter Cushing, but a little Peter Cushing is a nice thing. Protein polymorphs. Ooh. What is this? AC 2 without armor. Oh my gosh. Infrared 60 feet. Amorphous creatures with the ability to take any form they choose. If a pro poly stays in its chosen form, there is no way to tell its true identity, except if the form it chooses has special powers. A la troll, Balrog, elf, etc. The pro poly will not have them. Wow. Man, that's huge. But what is a special power? Would that be that if a pro poly turned into a Balrog, can it still fly? Is that considered a special power, or is that just mechanical because of his wings, and thus the pro poly can do it? But man, AC 2 without armor. Oh my gosh, there's more. All right, so we get Felis, Lupus, and Radians. I guess you roll an 8-sided die for type. So you get a little, so we have some different options here you can get to. So the first one, which has the largest chance of being, so 1 to 3 on an 8-sided die, so not quite 50%, a little bit less. You're of mixed type, you're bipedal, you can fight with claws and the bite, you have an AC 9, you get 1.5 times hit dice, I guess. Your movement's 9, your claws do 1 to 4 damage, and your bite does 1 to 6 damage. If you roll a 4, you can be a mixed type bipedal, you can wear armor, but not plate, and use weapons. So if you're of that 1 to 3 type, you cannot wear armor, you cannot use weapons, I'm guessing. It seems like they're saying you can't, because if one of the things is, hey, you can, I must say that there's an edict, or for whatever reason, maybe it's just because your body shape and your musculature and everything, can't wear armor. The next one up, you can wear armor and you can use weapons. So you're maybe when you're in that other one, your hands can't quite maybe get the gripping. I don't know. But if you're that up next type, you can use weapons. You still have AC 9, but you only have 1 hit die. Your claws do 1 to 3, so your claws do slightly less than the other ones, and then your bite still is 1 to 6. Of the next type, your quadrupedal, you have psionic power. Your AC is now 7. You still have just 1 hit die, but your movement is now a little bit improved. Your claws go back to doing 1 to 4. Your bite does 1 to 6. On a 6, you're a human type. You're essentially a human. I guess maybe you just have some traces of cattish, doggish, or radish. Not radish, but ratish bits to you, but not enough to really affect you mechanically. On a 7, you're of the beast type. It says intel. Is that your intelligence? Your cat, wolf, or giant rat? You get a better bite, 1 to 8, and your claws go up to do 1 to 6 damage. You're a 2 hit dice, and then if you roll an 8, you're actually a lycanthrope from birth. A were-tiger, werewolf, or were-rat play as such. So that's some cool, interesting things that you kind of just have to roll randomly for. You might just be a giant rat. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the intel dot means. Does that mean you just basically have giant rat, wolf, or cat intelligence? I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, is that? I'd love to know if somebody play a beast type and was just like a giant rat, but they're not. I don't know. I mean, I guess you're just a giant rat, so you can't talk. You have no psionic stuff, so I'm not sure what you do there. Is that just where you just start rolling over again? I'm not sure, but I would have loved to have seen some stories. Maybe we'll get there. There it says, next page, Radish Man. I'm surprised we don't get like Evil Weed or something, or whatever the a Vegeman. Or what were they? Vegesapiens? What were the ones in Barrier Peaks? What were the name? Was it Vegesapiens? What were the Vegapygmies? Avis sapiens, some kind of bird people, I'm guessing. Yep. 9 HD, 1 hit die, about 6 feet tall, 25-foot wingspan. Prehensile taloned feet. Can do 1 to 3 damage. Can only use hands when wings are folded. So they're kind of the original. What's the? I forget the name of the bird race that people were all fluffer about. Ian Boyle says giant rat proficiency and intellectual property. Yes. Terrence says animal sidekicks very underutilized heroic archetype. Yeah, but who wants to play like if you're playing Beastmaster? You want to play the Beastmaster. Do you want to play the ferrets? I don't know. Maybe you do. So this one, you cannot use your hands while you're folded. So your wings are attached to your hands, which I like. But you can dive bomb with javelins flung from their feet. Only crazy or desperate birdmen will enter dungeons. They don't even like buildings. Yeah, they shouldn't, because they can fly. That's the thing I feel like that gets lost in a lot of the, birdmen are so overpowered. Yeah, but what are they doing in a dungeon? It's like you've just... Being in a dungeon passageway has basically eliminated everything about them. You're in a 10-foot high ceilinged room. Where are you gonna fly to, Birdman? I don't know. Formicans, the intelligent ant people. They're not made of formica, like your countertop. They are intelligent ant people. They have an extremely rigid class structure with 3 basic types, making over 98% of their population. The Mermarches are the leaders. Or is that Mermarch, like a monarch? Elfbait says, flying in a dungeon or even a forest would be a problem for a man-sized bird. Yeah, I mean, in a forest, you're either above the forest, in which case you can't really see what's going on beneath you. I mean, if there's any tree cover at all, hard to see. And yeah, if you're in the forest, like it's not really many places to fly, you're going to start banging into all kinds of stuff. I agree completely. All right, so you have Mermarchs, or marches. I'm guessing marks like Monarch. They're going Monarch. They're going Mermarch. About 4 foot tall, 7 feet long, AC 5 with manipulative fingers on their forward upper limbs. They have an intelligence of 13 or greater. And from this class come the Formican magic users. Can bite for 1 to 3 forms of damage. The Proliformas are the workers, 5 foot tall by 8 feet long, AC 4 with manipulative fingers. Formican thieves and clerics come from this class. They can bite for 1 to 4 points of damage. The Myrmidons are the warrior class, 6 to 7 feet tall, 9 to 10 feet long, AC 2 with huge cleaver claws on their forelimbs for cutting through armor, 1 to 6 damage. Can also bite for 1 to 6 with their large mandibles. Strength is always 13 or better. Because of the rigid class structure, Proliforma Cleric Thief is the only combination type possible. Formicans will be 75% lawful, 15% neutral, 10% chaotic. Neutral and chaotics will be outcasts from the ant cities. Formicans do not wear any armor other than natural. Their Proliformas may use shields. They move 15 inches or whatever they're doing. Infravision 60 feet and have a very sensitive sense of smell. They communicate with each other by telepathy in a city, forming almost a group mind. With non-Formicans or Formicans, maybe it's Formicans. Formicans just sounds too much like we're talking about counter material. They speak Elder. Cities outside the Formican Empire feud with each other and the Empire. Feud with each other and the Empire, okay? So maybe they... Oh, cities outside the... Okay. So cities outside the Empire feud with each other and the Empire itself. All right, got that now. Ant people's origin can be told by the designs painted all over their carapaces, signifying their city and queen. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Now we get a... Boy, they just jump from section to section. I'm trying to save on paper. They go from non-human player characters straight to wandering monsters, and the first one they have is a Lich. Wow. Is this like, hey, put the bad boy up front, 18th level, 81 hit points, AC 0. Only one offensive 9th level, only one spell? Or is there more? No, this is one offensive 9th level spell. In parentheses, is that how many times they can use it? So does that mean if they get disintegrate, they use 6 times? I suppose in terms of when they're coming up on them in a combat, it doesn't really matter. But... Or maybe, okay, maybe this is how many... maybe I'm reading this wrong. I think maybe it's you get one offensive 9th level spell that you'll roll for, and then on top of it, you get all of these. I think that's how it works. So they didn't put numbers by these. So you get... Yeah, they got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, you got 6 disintegrates, 8 mass charms, 7 prismatic sprays. What was that? 2 or is that supposed to be a 7? I guess that's a 7. I've never seen these before, but I like these different level sleeps. I kind of should have probably remarked on it earlier. I saw with the charms. Sleep 1 to 14. So you're not escaping from sleep. You're not escaping from sleep necessarily. They can sleep high level ones. You can get different levels. I noticed that with the charm, but I kind of didn't factor all the way in. It's like, oh yeah, you can have different charm with different level ranges, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you can get a high level sleep spell. Ian says, I think I'm philosophically opposed to wandering liches. They're looking for their, it's like Voldemort. They're looking there for their phylacteries or something, and you happen upon them. Why should they always be sitting in their tombs? I mean, that's why you become a lich, so that you can have this sort of ultra safety, live forever mentality, and then run around doing mischief. So, why wouldn't you be out there? Why are you always just sitting in your tomb? I mean, think about it. That's the most boring thing in the world. You're a lich. You're supposed to be a nigh immortal. It's time to go out and have fun with that immortality. Okay, so we get some random rolls here. I don't even see the lich on this roll. They just kind of threw them up there, but like, yeah, we'll go on a random roll. Or this, oh no, so now we're back to, maybe this is a, no? They just threw that in there. That's so weird. Or maybe, it's probably because they were, just because the nature of the document. Because I think the person that did this kind of rearranged things to try to make it a little bit more sense. But you probably get these hanging chads of things like, oh, here are wandering monsters, and now we're going back to randomly rolling for your non-player character. So 1 in 70 chance of being human, and then between 71 and 100 being anything else. Ooh, you can be a Thark/Treant, which wasn't even covered in that other one. That's right. Ian says, I became a lich to see the world, damn it. That's right. Have phylactery will travel. That's what I always say. Okay, so you can roll. We already went through. So they must have just condensed these a bit. So I'm wondering, one thing we didn't say. Let me see. Is there anything on this list we didn't see? So Gibbelin and Leprechaun are basically the same, or at least similar enough. I'm interested in the Thark. What is the Thark? /Treant. Does that mean they're like Treants? Let's see. So we get... I'm just going down to Tharks. They don't say what they are, but they're Fighters Unlimited. I'm not sure what that is, but they get a lot of strength. Wow, they can have a 20 strength max. Take that, 18s. You think you're strong at 18/100? My Thark has a 20 strength, boy. Even Trogs can only have 18 max. Ogre Magi can have 19 max. Same as Ogres. Do Giants get higher? Let's see. Oh, the Giants aren't even listed here. Interesting. So these lists aren't exactly the same. I didn't even look. Ooh, we would get some nice tables. Terrence says John Carter. In reference to what, Terrence? I'm from Tharks. Oh, Tharks. Oh, I guess so. Yeah, John Carter. That's Adoi. Yeah, yeah. You might be right, Terrence. That might be it. This is weird. They're stuck with Treants. Maybe that's what threw me off. But yeah, Tharks. I think that's John Carter, unless there's another Thark. So they have some different modifiers here. And interesting that hit and damage are not the same. They are in some parts. So if you're at, and here they have 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I kind of like the extra granularity. If you have a 13 strength, yeah, you don't get an extra plus to hit, but you do get an extra plus to damage. I kind of like that. I'm down with that. And then they're using Greyhawk rules for carry weight and door opening. Up it says big 4-armed green guys. Right. Yep. From John Carter. Yep. I think you're right. I think you guys are right. Do Trents? They don't have 4 arms though, right? I'm just not sure why they put them together. It's that grouping that made me think they must be some other kind of vegetal class, or creature, but I guess not. Because yeah, I don't think the Tharks aren't vegetal, right? And John Carter, they're not. I mean, they're green. Did they have something to do with the trees, or whatever the trees were on Mars? So Dex has the same thing. What's H? It's H-H. Missiles? I'm guessing missiles. Oops. Is that hand to hand? I don't know. I don't know what H-H. Does anybody have an idea? Elfa says they lay eggs. Yep, I remember that. H-H. What do we think H-H is? Is that for hand to hand? And then they have star equals 2 per round. Hash equals 3 per round. At equals 4 per round. For what? Are we talking attacks? Is this number of missile attacks, number of hand-to-hand? Maybe that's it. Well, that's kind of an interesting... If I'm reading this correctly, and goodness knows I might not be, none of these are damage. They're plus your attacks to, I believe, hitting with missile weapons, hitting hand-to-hand, fisticuffs, and then the numbers per round you can use. So if you somehow have a 20 parentheses 5 dex, you would have a plus 8 to hit with missiles, and you could fire them 4 times around. You'd get a plus 7 hitting hand to hand, also 4 times around. Terrence says, now that I think of it, Treants probably do deserve more than 2 slams. What with all the limbs? Yeah, I mean, I think about the way I visualize them, like in the kind of Lord of the Rings movie. They sort of have their 2 kind of humanoid limbs. They don't really use all their tree limbs, but yeah, you could certainly envision them differently to have multiple limbs. Certainly trees might have many. Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure. Maybe that's how they envision. That's why they put them together with Tharks. Okay, so now so that was all about strength and dex, which are really interesting. Now we have I wonder if inspiration, did they have we heard wisdom yet? Is wisdom inspiration? Because here we have spell level. So this table reads, I know you in the chat can see it, but since this will become a podcast also, I try to make it followable in audio form. We've got spell level. Then something that says intel dot, and underneath it insp dot. So intel period, insp period, which I'm guessing is intelligence, and then this inspiration, which we've heard made mention of before, but we have not gotten to any definitions of them. But I'm wondering if we're talking about spells, and we have cleric spells and wizard spells. If we're thinking, okay, wizard spells are tied to intelligence, and cleric spells are tied to if it's inspiration, which kind of would make sense, then is inspiration standing in for wisdom? And now we have these percentages, which is it indicate to me that they are not using spell slots. Because you have essentially the percentage chance if the level and is the same level, success is the same level. So percent success, same level. What my reading would be, if you're first level, you're casting a first level spell, that's the same level. And then the higher level you get above your spell, above the spell you're trying to cast, the more likely it is to fire off. Now, maybe they're doing this in addition to spell slots. It's hard to say now, but they're not showing any slots on this table. But maybe they are. But if anything, there's some other role which they're using to have a casting success. And I guess we will see whether this is in place of using spell slots or in addition to, or if there's other mechanic, at least if they wrote it down for this. But it's interesting. So it basically takes all the way, and they have spells all the way to 12th. And then increasing chances of success the higher you get above the level of the spell. And then they have these things where the time, like the casting time, goes down. So at some point, the casting time is only 3/4 of the time, then it goes down. It takes half the time to cast, and then 1/4 of the time to cast. Which is another interesting little improvement. Not only can you cast it, but you can do it faster. So if we're using something akin to, what was it called? Segments for your turns. And, this is going to take 8 whatever segments to cast. Well, at a certain point, it becomes 6 segments, then 4 segments, then 2 segments. So that's kind of cool. All right, Constitution. Get your hit die bonuses, and then your percent. Is that Resurrection? What's the percent S? What would the S be? I'm thinking R Resurrection, I'm guessing. S. I don't know. Oh, if you have a Constitution of 19 or 20, you're immortal. And then the other one's Immortal Soul. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means, but I like the sound of it. Makes me want to start singing the theme from Highlander. I am immortal. I have inside me blood of kings. Yeah. Yeah, that was brutal, and it killed my voice for a second there. But, I don't know what it means, but I like it. Percent S. Someone tell me what percent S you think that is. Okay, we have a note here. Strength, intelligence, inspiration, dexterity trade 2 for 1 between themselves only. Will and common sense trade 2 for 1 to anything except charisma and luck. Charisma and luck trade 2 for 1 between themselves only. You cannot lower any attribute by trading to less than 9, which is kind of similar to the trading rules we've seen in different books. But we do get a sense of the attributes they have here, because now we can see the full list, though we don't know what they mean, but they have some that we haven't seen before. So you have strength, intelligence, inspiration, dexterity, will, common sense, charisma, and luck. Terrence says, immortals are the Mystara divinities, you think. But this is kind of pre-Mystara, but it was Mystara. Is Mystara the same as... I don't know. We're Mystara... But still, it's kind of cool. But I mean, what does it mean? Like, even if we say, okay, they're Mystara divinities, or they're just divinities, we'll take out the Mystara part of it. Because I don't know when Mystara came into the fold, if this is the genesis of it, or if it came later, or if it was separate, whatever. I don't know. But in terms of being immortal, like, what does it mean? Okay, so you're immortal. I have 19 Constitution. I mean, clearly you could still be killed. You don't have unlimited hit points. But I guess if you're going to be resurrected, it will work 100% of the time. And then whatever your percent S is, which I just don't know what it means, you're also basically 100%. So I don't know. But it is interesting. So we've got a bunch of attributes. We don't really know what... I mean, luck we can guess. We don't know what it's used for yet, but it's pretty obvious what it is. Common sense and will are interesting. And then we have this inspiration, which is interesting. And there is no wisdom. Seems like maybe they took wisdom, and wisdom might be. I mean, wisdom's kind of. I feel like it's part inspiration. It's kind of like they took. Well, they didn't mention Constitution in there either. And I mean, I don't really know. I thought maybe this was all the attributes. We already know Constitution still exists, and they didn't mention it here. So could there be more that they're not mentioning? So I don't know, but it seems like they kind of split up what we would think of as wisdom into inspiration and common sense. And will, I would usually fold in will with con, but will is one of those things like I mean, I tend to, I guess, to play now. If I was playing now and somebody do a save against something that was sapping their will, yeah, I would tend to pull it as con. You're kind of your toughness. So you can make an argument for wisdom, but they have it separately. So here we're seeing some of these stats, but they're not telling us what they do. They're just giving us the percentages. And there's the first spam of the day. Well, we made it. You could take a nice block. So we get charisma, we have luck. So, if you have bad luck, and you really have it, +4 added to saving throws. Yikes. If you have really great luck, you get some negative, your saving throws advance. And if you have really great luck, you get some psionics at some point. Wow, you get a level of godhood? I don't know what that means. Level of godhood equals hit points divided by 10, i.e. 4.5. I don't know what that means, but okay. See Gods and Demigods book. I'll have to check that out. So fighters. Okay, wait a minute. What does this mean? This is all in, these. It's kind of like part of it. It's just interesting because you're reading essentially someone's shorthand, right? This is kind of stuff you give to somebody, but you're getting this out, and you could obviously explain the stuff. So it's kind of written in not the most verbose language because you don't need to. Because it's like here, this is kind of a summary. Read it. I can explain if you don't understand it. So when it says fighter, heal 2 points per level, I'm guessing that's overnight. You rest for a night, you get 2 points per level. But maybe not. So I don't know. Then this is also cure 1 disease per 5 levels. No, they get. I guess no. Oh, I don't know because it seems like they get some kind of effect because they have a permanent bless 10-foot radius and a warhorse. 5 hit dice plus 1 per level. That's a pretty strong horse. Thieves heal 1 point per level. Cure 1 disease per 10 levels. Charm and suggestion spells. Astral Helper can operate on the astral plane 3 times per week. Use familiar chart. Helper will go astral if attacked, if possible. So they get a helper? That's kind of cool. Is this a certain kind of thief? Does someone recognize this as being an archetype of a certain sort of thief, like a thief in a certain book got an astral helper? Otherwise, that's really interesting because that seems really kind of out there in terms of what I think of when I think of thieves. Clerics can heal 3 points per level, cure 1 disease per 3 levels, neutralize poison per 10 levels. I don't really know some of these per levels, what they mean. Does it mean that I can cast cure disease once for every 3 levels? So as a cleric, gotta get 1 shot at it? I don't know. Like for my first 10 levels, I can cast neutralize poison once. I'm not sure what that means. Remove curse once per 15 levels, or it just says per 15 levels. I don't know. And then you get a totemic animal. So it's definitely a different kind of cleric. And we've got the animal could be a horse, ape, lion, boar, bear, snake, wolf, scorpion, mammoth, wolverine, eagle, or other. And it seems like these are not just symbolic because they mention poison for the snake and scorpion. Astral Helper is Terrence's favorite boxed 1-pot meal. But it's very unfulfilling because it just goes right through you because it's astral. Ha ha! Stick to Hamburger Helper, Terrence, unless you're vegan. And maybe they've got Faux Burger Helper. Magic users can heal 1 point per level, cure 1 disease for 10 levels, +1 charm, -4 saving throws on empathic spell. They have a familiar. 1 spell per HD. Use the scroll chart. 1 psionic power per 10 levels of magic user. Intelligence equals 6 plus 1 to 6. What? I'm not sure. Frederick Orc says original experiences from 0 level. I don't know, Frederick. Hey, welcome. And I'm not sure. Unknown, because we're this is someone's. I will go back to that if I get through this. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm in an hour and a half, and I'm on page 11 of 99. So chances are, this will be a multi. Heck, maybe this will just be this week. Me going through these documents. So we don't know yet. We don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions so far. An original experience is definitely one of these unanswered ones. Don't know. And I'm guessing this is actually, they just kind of scrunched it together, but I'm thinking this is for these numbers we're rolling are for the familiar. So I'm guessing the intelligence of the familiar is 6 plus 1 to 6. And we could have a monkey, cat, parrot, dog, snake, non-poisonous, lizard, dragonette, rat, ferret, killer bee, raven, toad, giant spider, also non-poisonous, mini gargoyle, mandragora root, newt, homunculus, wolverine, mini sphinx, or other. Terrence says very deep dive. Yes, indeed, the deepest of dives. Okay, and we do have a note here about will and common sense. They are strictly human attributes which help raise the character's main attributes. They have no meaning beyond 18. All right, well, I don't know what that means, but thank you very much. I might. Frederick says he drowned. Yeah, I might. This might drown me because we have to try to. Hopefully, maybe in that thread, if we can get back to it at some point, we'll get some people will have asked questions about some of the stuff, and there might be some answers because there's just a ton we don't know. And this document wasn't made to teach us, in 50 years in the future, whatever it is, 40 years in the future or whatever, to teach us what they were doing. It's just for them at the time. So they knew what this stuff meant, so they didn't need to write it down. We don't know. Psionic ability. 1 to 75% you can use once a week. 76 to 98% you could use once a day. And 99 or 100% get 2 abilities. One is once per week, one is once per day. So chances are you can only do this once per week. So they're going to be good, but you're not getting them a lot. Frederick says, I should do the Fred Funk Memorial Game and Funk World. It's better laid out and free as well. I'll have to look it up. Or Frederick, if you haven't, shoot it over to me or let me know where I can find it. Or I'll do I'll search it out for in the DuckDuckGo. But I'll check it out. I mean, yeah. I mean, the layout of this one's, even though I think it was they tried to kind of clean up and rearrange it to make the most sense. Yeah, it's not the most well laid out, but that wasn't its purpose, right? I'm not going to ding it for that. It was in no way was this designed to be looked at much beyond when it was made. Okay, so here we get some charts for your experiences. Are these we got our multi-class. Fighter, so you get fighter, magic user, fighter, thief, magic user, thief, and the famous fighter, magic user, thief. I had a lot of fun playing fighter, magic user, thieves. I knew a guy who was that was his jam. Like every character, fighter, magic user, thief. I mean, they're good. Oh, here they get some extra bumps. So fighter magic users is +3 strength. Second level, they get +3 intelligence. Am I reading that right? And then they get fighter hit dice? Or they just have, or is that just in general? Or is that supposed to be leveled? I don't know, but well, that's interesting that you're getting these attribute bonuses basically on your class. Is that it? Is that all the classes? They mentioned clerics. Oh, here they have some more. And you can be a magic user cleric. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Yeah. And then you got monks. So we got, let's see. Ooh, there's a lot of multi-classing going on here. So you can be fighter magic user, fighter thief, magic user thief, fighter magic user thief. We covered those. You could also be a magic user cleric. You can be a monk. Be a thief cleric, cleric magic user, fighter cleric. You can be an assassin. Some of these go up to, let's see. Seems like some of these go up to 20th level. Some of these don't go up. Monks only go up to 16th level. Assassins only to 13th level. The fighter multi-classes can go up as high as you want. Is that it? Are the other ones just by the book? Maybe these are just supplementary. So if you're just, you got the OD&D stuff, and they're not giving you everything because the other things are in those books. I'm guessing is the thing. Any interesting equipment? We're into equipment now. Got your Ronseurs, your Partisans. Oh, good old Vulge, Tridents. Everybody loves them Tridents. Only 4 gold pieces. How much is their plate armor? 400 gold pieces. Yeah, pretty good. Got a bunch of shields. Large shields, medium shield, small shield, and then wooden shield as a separate class. I think historically, didn't all shields basically were wood with and potentially had some metal plating on top of it were basically wood? It matters not, but what's the difference between the wooden shield and the other shields? I'm not sure. Bardiche, Bec de Corbin, Biel Gusarm, Bow Stick, Fauchard Forks, some flails, some glaives, glaive guisarms, some guisarm vulges, your halberds, warhammers, lucerne hammers. Oh yeah, they got everything. Oh, you can buy yourself some livestock: a chicken, a cow, a guard dog, a hunting dog, some goats, hawks, horses, mules, oxes, pigs, ponies, sheep, songbird. That's interesting. And you got your normal stuff. Oh, you can buy some samurai stuff if you want to go that way. Buy some herbs, some different provisions, some different religious items. Got your iron spikes, of course. Do we have your 10-foot poles? Yep, there it is. 3 gold pieces. Or is that copper? Is that copper? I can't tell if it's gold. I think it's a copper. I think the G has a little line there. So, yep, 3 copper pieces. Get yourself a 10-foot pole. Oh, Frederick replying to Terrence says that an old board game talked about elves being able to find secret doors. Aha, that might make sense. Get your prayer beads. Get some holy symbols. Oh, here we go. Oh yes, someone's got to Excelify this one and throw this out. So we've got our weapons data, starting with battle axes going in. I am not reading through all of these, but this has this cool thing which I think chainmail had something similar to. But basically, it's kind of giving you a version of what are these things good. What are these things better suited towards fighting? What are they worse towards fighting? And then kind of how fast they are. So Dave Mills says the dungeon board game. Is that so? Maybe not something earlier. I would have thought maybe earlier than that because the white box has this stuff. And I think the white box predates dungeon board game, or am I not thinking straight on that? So a battle axe, you need 4 feet of space. It's kind of 0 speed. So kind of middle, or are we talking? Yeah, it must be kind of middle of the road for speed. Since it looks like, I don't know if pluses must be slower. What's a dagger? Because a dagger should be fast. Okay, so -1 is a dagger. I imagine that's faster, but then a club's also -1. Okay, so anyway, it's got a speed of 0. We don't really know what that means. It's some kind of modifier. But against AC 10, it's +2. Against AC 9, it's +1. Against AC 8, it's +1. Against AC 7, it's 0. And then essentially starting at AC 5, it gets kind of less and less good. So at 5 and 4, it's -1. At 3, it's -2. And at 2, it's -3. And this is essentially a way of saying if you're wearing plate mail or the plate mail, something that's plate mail-ish, you end up at AC 2, however you get there. But basically, some kind of plate mail or plate mail equivalent. Battle axes just aren't efficient weapons. There aren't good weapons at it, and we're simulating that by giving it a penalty. But if you are not armored at all, it's good. It'll hack you apart, and it does a pretty good job. Does it better than, say, whatever weapon normal is. We would call a normal weapon. You get a +2. Same thing, right? You get to a dagger. If you have no armor on, daggers are great. +3. Against someone in plate mail, not as good, -3. And I know we talked about some other stream about the reality of daggers getting in between plates and stuff, but I think in a combat situation when someone's kind of at full strength, hard to get in against somebody moving around and mobile in plate mail if you have a dagger, because they got plates covering plates. It's not necessarily easy, and you got to get in really close. Against somebody who's not armored, hey, great. And we can go on down the line. I'm not going to go through all these, but just for giggles, we see your open hand or fist. If you're unarmored, it's a +4 to hit. If you're male, it's -7. Let's see. Dave Mills. Oh, here we go. Dave Mills has something here. Dave Magery was in, or Magery, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, was in Arneson's group. He designed the board game. We're talking about Dungeon, the board game. So Arneson could explore dungeons too. So the Elf Secret Door thing may be an Arneson from Arneson's table. That's interesting. And yes, as Terrence said, lots of different cultural stuff running in there, because we have bow sticks. I don't know, whatever a joe stick is supposed to be. All kinds of stuff. So we have this huge table, and then we have damage if you're a small, medium person versus if you're a large person. And then we have some notes about can you able to dismount riders, able of disarming opponents. That's interesting. Treat as a long sword if used one-handed, kind of your versatile weapons. And then some that do double damage when riding a charging mount, and then some that do double damage when set versus a charge. Some weapons do better versus an opponent's back. Or no, all weapons, I guess. And then all weapons are +4 versus prone or motionless. I mean, motionless, wouldn't that kind of be a coup de grace unless something gets in your way? But who knows? You just might, maybe you just trip or something. And then we've got the same thing for missile weapons. Unfortunately, where I am here, I can't get to my chainmail book because it's back in the city. So I don't know if these are lifted right out of chainmail, but they printed them out in this book. So I'm assuming that there's different in some manner because they felt the need to make the tables. AC adjustments based on firing at short range. Adjust by -3 medium and -7 at long ranges. So I'm just maybe the interesting one here, at least to me, of these missile weapons, is the heavy crossbow. Rate of fire is half, so that's once every other round. And it's got bonuses against everything, but only a -1 bonus against plate mail armor. Suggesting that basically why it was built was to take out people in heavy armor. So if you're in heavy armor, that's your best weapon, unless you have a longbow, which if you're at Agincourt was fairly effective, to say the least, against French Knights. So those are one of the best if you're against heavily armored foes. Some of them are just slightly worse, and then some of them, like throwing a club at someone in plate mail, not going to do a whole lot of damage, or it's not a good chance of hitting. I'm not sure why. I would think if you could hit, the club's problem to me is just that you might hit with the wrong end. It's not weighted to be thrown. Never really heard of throwing clubs before, but hey, you could throw it. You want to throw it, you could throw it, I guess. Lanterns can also be thrown. And we get some, I'm not going to read through all the stuff, but they have some splash damage stuff. And yeah, you could throw your lantern and splash some oil. Oh, look at this. So roll percentage dice. So they have a damage adjustment table. Roll percentage dice for every damage roll. All right, so this is interesting. You're rolling a D100, so you're rolling a percentage dice. On a 5 to 90, you're getting normal damage. So most of the time, 85% of the time, you're getting normal damage. But you have a chance of either doing quarter damage or half damage on the negative side. And on the positive side, you get double damage, triple damage. On a 100, you get a critical hit. So I guess in this sense, criticals are totally separate from your original attack throw. It has nothing to do with rolling a 20 on your d20. It's completely separate. So here you're going to roll that, and just along with it, I suppose you just roll 3 dice at once, your percentile dice and your 20. Boom, that comes in. We have some asterisks here. We've got under... Oh, interesting. So if you roll quarter damage, not only does it do quarter damage, but your weapon is broken beyond repair and dropped. And then if you roll half damage, your weapon is dropped but not broken. So that's really interesting. So it's altogether, it's only a 5% chance, which seems like you could just then roll it into your 1, right? That to me is, okay, just take that and roll it all together in your 1 out of 20. And I guess come up with whether you're doing half. I mean, that's, I guess the bonus, I guess maybe the thing here is not on a miss, right? So you're doing damage, but you're doing damage and your weapon is dropped, which is kind of interesting. So you hit, but now you've done quarter damage and your weapon's broken. I don't know if I'd rather that or I'd just rather it happen on a miss, but it's definitely interesting. If you happen to score your double aught, you get your critical hit in, you're going to roll another D100. On a 1 to 10, a leg is severed, and I guess you do 25% total hit damage. So basically, you're going to sever off a leg, and they're going to take 25% loss of hit points. On 11 to 20, you've severed an arm, also 25% loss of hit points. On a 21 to 50, you do 25% damage, but nothing severed, or triple damage. I guess I would say whichever's the higher. On a 51 to 90, you're going to do 50% total damage or triple damage. I'm assuming, again, because this is a critical hit, you should do whatever's the higher. On a 91 to 99, you do 75% total damage or quadruple damage. On a double aught, you head severed, instant death. So there is a small chance. You got to roll 2 double aughts in a row. And I'm not sure in the any dice what the chances of that is, but it's not very much, but I'm sure it happened. Crit, head severed, instant death. Oh, we do have what's the triple star? So let's see. If you roll double or triple damage, and you're not wearing a helmet, you get an additional 1 to 10 points of damage. And if you are wearing a helmet, there's a 50% chance of being knocked off. Okay. Frederick Rourke says, I should look up the Temple of Damanhur. Someone needs to put that in a D&D game. I'll check it out. I don't know what it is, but I'm happy to look it up. Let's see. Now we've got the matrices. Matrix 1, men attacking. I don't even need to go through that. Common weapons, pluses, and damage. I feel like these are kind of taken right out of the books, right? Either Judges Guild or whatever. It's basically a more generalized tables than the ones we just saw. We got the monsters attacking. We get your saving throws. We get missile attacks. They got some crossed out stuff here, but some of these I can't read. Like there's looks like one was control temperature. It was crossed out and something was put in there, but I can't see what it is. I can't even see what is zoomed in. Curse? It just looks like it says cuss. I have no idea what that is. Maybe I'll have to see. We got speak in tongues. That demon poison, demon passion. 10th, there's a jihad. Raise dead army, and it says in parentheses 100 levels. Permanent hell sending. Ooh, doggity dog. Are we going to see some of these written? Animate anything. I like it. Oh, some of this is cut off just a smidge. Oh, 9th level killer forest. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Summon God. Usul has called a storm even God has never seen. Actually, some of these go upside down. All right, so these are some handwritten. The old yellow legal paper. Yes. Yes. All right, now we see Morgan, who, if I go back to that thing, is going to tell us that this was an original player character played by Tom Moldvay. I guess it's definitely in use. All this thing scratched out. Fighter magic user. 43rd level. Who? Alignment high neutral. No, he's just not neutral. She's not neutral. High neutral. Whoa, she's up to 18, 71% strength. Got a heck of a lot of spells. And some psionic. Sonic wall. Once per day, 300 points. She's a social level 20 dragon lady in parentheses. She's a ruler. I like that. Languages. Most. Which languages does she speak? Most of them. Yeah, she's got 20 million gold pieces. Come on. Number of attacks 7/2. She's no joke. Do not mess with Morrigan. She's got Dragon's Bane, the +4 sword, Charm Dragon on contact. 3 times per day. I mean, how many? 3 times per day. Do you need more than once per day? How many dragons are you coming into contact with in a given day? Locate dragon in a 12-inch radius. How long is that? How many feet is that? No, 12. Yeah, 12-inch. I don't know. I don't know if that's far. I can't remember. Can't remember the exchange rate of inches to feet, but a lot going on. He's got some Ioun stones. He's got Displacer Cloak. I mean, she's a high look. She's seriously high level. Okay, so she's got a ton of stuff. Ring of Welcome, Necklace of Missiles, Ring of Absorption, Rod of Absorption, Portion of Invulnerability, Horn of the Triton. Look at all this stuff. Rod of Cancellation, Wand of Frost. I mean, she could open up a shop. All right, so there we go. We have ended. I think I'm going to stop here in the main document, and because we're getting up to 2 hours, so let's go back to that forum and see what's going on, and I'll continue. Maybe I'll have to do another mega stream tomorrow, but probably maybe back at the regular time. I'm not sure. Do folks like this afternoon? Because this week I'm kind of off, so I can do things at a different schedule. So let me know if this suits people better, at least for this week, kind of on a sort of a trial, not trial basis, just kind of a temporary basis, doing them in the afternoon like this, or whether you prefer the normal. Because basically I'm up here by myself. So I got nobody knocking on the door, nobody doing anything. I'll be here for a couple days, and I go home go back to the city on Thursday. So next couple days, I can do things late, or I guess just tomorrow. Next couple days, tomorrow, essentially, because Thursday I'll be on the road again. But whether I should do tomorrow at the same time, because I have the afternoon, or not. Let's see if there's any wisdom here. So that's what we already got to. Something about Wolf. People saying thanks. Some more people saying thanks. Oh, so, okay. Hopefully people will ask some questions. Okay, so someone pointed out that the price list, the equipment price list, and the PHB, AD&D PHB price list are basically exactly the same. So did this come from there? And apparently it's word for word, price by price, the same. So did this predate that? It would seem like it must have, because this is 1974 to 76, and the PHB came out in 78. And then, so the weapon data is also the same. And that person wonders whether where the influence came from. Did they have some PHB stuff they're working off of that they had access to, or did this make its way into the PHB? Interesting stuff. Someone says that looking at the price list, you can divide by 30 to get pounds. It's pretty historically accurate. What was it? Someone mentioned weights up earlier on. I skipped over it thinking it wasn't important, but maybe. Oh, someone found up here. So things to note. Things I found of note. 30. This is posted by Wingalad or Wingalade. Things they found of note: 30 gold pieces to the pound, closer to historical coins. Then equipment is impressive. The work and alignment is interesting. We haven't gotten there yet. Social and background stuff is interesting. But I guess that 30 gold pieces to the pound seems to be fairly accurate given what they find in there. That's cool. Someone checked. So Schick and Moldvay joined TSR in 79, so after the PHB. I don't know if they're suggesting that because of that, they must have gotten it from the PHB, not the other way around. I'm not sure. Just because they officially joined TSR in 79 doesn't mean there wasn't some conversations back and forth, blah, 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 notes being passed, things like that. Yeah, and that's what Wangalade or Wangalad says. Also. Let's see, any other interesting things here? Okay, so something interesting. Tom Moldvay reused the name of the campaign setting for the world in Revolt on Antares minigame that he designed that was published by TSR. And I guess Jeff Rentz did an excellent rundown of Imeros, aka Antares 9. And click on that link. And then someone else did an Antares 9/Imeros map. And then Moldvay must have liked the name Imeros. He also uses the name of the leader of the Puppet Masters in his Lords of Creation game. And they also wonder if Imeros was in any way inspired by the name of the capital city of Melnibone, Imrir, from Michael Moorcock's Elric / Stormbringer. Probably, possibly. Let's see if there's that. I'll click on that map. Let's see what we have here. Make that bigger. So this is Imeros. How big are we talking about here? Zoom in. Kind of cool. I don't know how big those hexes are. Does it say? Let's see. Okay, each hex is 72 miles. 72-mile hexes. Pretty cool. Let's see if there's any other wisdom, at least about this first part. Okay, so regarding my written notes, this is Bill Wilkerson passing a note to Travis, who posted in. Regarding my written notes for the known world, they were written after the date of Tom's and Lawrence's creation of the known world. My intent with these notes was to flesh out some ideas of my own for a homebrew campaign. These were intended for my own use, not for publication, and to honor Tom's and Lawrence's seminal work with a homebrew. Cool. Let's see what else is going on. Someone said, I think some of the monsters are from All the World's Monsters. Okay, we haven't gotten to monsters yet, so we'll skip that over. Okay, so there we go. So look at that. Avis Sapiens became the Aarakocra, the name I couldn't remember before, and that makes total sense because it seemed very similar. So there we go. I guess this would be the first iteration of the Aarakocra. Were these Avis Sapiens? We haven't seen Foxwoman yet. We have seen protein polymorphs. These became Moldvay's protein polymorph in the Fiend Folio and Polymar in D&D. Very cool. So you see, look at that. We're seeing there is some historical stuff that actually did get into D&D proper that came out of these homebrew, which is cool. Shadow Stalkers became Astral Searchers. We haven't gotten there. Here we go. Mangrels. Okay, so some of these characteristics of these monsters appear to have incorporated into the Thule of Moldvay Basic. Notably, they are composed of 3 monsters, part troll, part human, part ghoul. Oh, I guess hence Mangrol, Man, Ghoul, Troll. Okay. They also paralyze and regenerate like Thools can do. A big difference is that the Mangrols have tentacle arms and Thools instead resemble hobgoblins. Page 55, which you haven't gotten to yet, also has Thools. Okay, we have Killer Bees, which we haven't gotten to yet, so I will just skip over. All right, so we do get a timeline here, which might be interesting. Okay, so this understanding, so let's see. This is Travis again saying, from reading interviews with Lawrence, this person, he was responding to James Mishler, reading interviews with Lawrence and from my interviews with Bill, my initial understanding of the timeline was this. 1974, Tom and Lawrence pick up the OD&D box set. 74 to 76, they learn the game to build ideas for a shared campaign. Early 76, they type up the house rules as seen in these documents. These documents date from 76. Imeros wall map, several feet long, is also constructed at this time. In the summer of 76, play begins at Kent State off-campus dwellings, using the 76 typewritten documents and wall map as campaign guides. In 76 to 79, they co-DM in Kent and Akron. This is the golden age of the known world. February of 79, the DM registry in Dragon 22 lists Tom with a Kent address, Lawrence with a Kent address, and Bill with an Akron address. At this time, there are only 500 listed DMs in the world. In 79, Lawrence photocopies the 76 documents as his resume and is hired by TSR. Bill recalls that Tom DM'd for a little while on his own. While Lawrence is off at TSR, Lawrence puts in a good word for Tom, and Tom is subsequently hired. In 80, Tom and Lawrence are both at TSR in Wisconsin. The Akron group continues to meet with Bill as the DM. In February of 81, Bill Wilkerson and Ralph Wagner, another player, are listed in the acknowledgments of Moldvay's basic rules. 80 to 2000, the Akron group continues to play AD&D with Bill as the DM. They never switch to 2E. Their usual meeting place is someone else's house. Usually a board game session will be going at the same time as the RPG in different rooms. 2000, the group switches to 3rd edition. The board games continue. From 2022, over the decades, the group's interest switches entirely to board games, though Bill continued to play D&D with a 5e group that met at the Malted Meeple Game Tavern and continues to play with that DM online. This group, with which Ralph calls the Zany Wilkersanes, is a continuation of the original known world group. They are still meeting in 2022, though slow due to Corona. And this person got to play with Bill and Ralph one night during a visit to Akron in 2021 fall. They played the Korean board game Four Gardens at Great Oaks Tavern in Wadsworth on the outskirts of Akron. However, as James and others discover datable elements in the documents, I think the timeline as to when the documents were typed up can be honed and revised. I imagine it's hard for folks to remember the sequences from 40 plus years ago. And there's a revised timeline, which I will skip. Really cool stuff. I will end it here, though. And tomorrow, we shall continue with The Known World, Volume 2, Monsters and Treasure. Ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Thanks to everyone who tuned in for the Mystery Megastream, which is mysterious no more. If you give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. Hope you enjoyed it. Send a link to your friends. Send a link to your enemies. I don't care. Maybe if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you were talking or listening. Brian Smith, I am finishing up my rock and rolling. I'm going to start my quest for dinner. There's a slight chance I might stream later on, maybe just on Twitch, just to fool around and not really engage with anybody. I don't have any followers on Twitch, so it's kind of just go in there and goof off. Maybe I'll play a video game. I don't know. I got some writing and stuff I have to do too, so I might do that. Who knows? But I'm done for the day here. Come back, catch up, and tomorrow I will continue this with Monsters and Treasure. Have a good night, everybody. Game on, and I'll talk to you later.